Based on last week's preview for this week's episode, I was actually expecting a lot for this episode because Lum's mother is going to appear for the very first time in this remake, and I was really curious to hear how she'll sound like knowing that her voice actress was Lum's voice actress back in the original. But unfortunately, the entire first half of the episode was just her talking in a gibberish manner. So yeah, whether that was intentional or not, it was a bummer not to hear her talk in this half, and it was only until the second half of the episode that we got to hear her properly. But by that point, I was already focused on the story for the second half of the episode. And as for the second half of the episode, which unironically is the actual episode proper for this week's episode, this is actually what I like the most whenever I watch Urusei Yatsura. Whenever the story ultimately focuses on Ataru and Lum. Because whether we like to admit it or not, when the episodes aren't focused on them, it feels like watching a 50-50 gacha roll where you just don't know if you'll get what you want. Because the comedy is subjective, and the simple reality for Urusei Yatsura is that not all of its jokes are guaranteed to be hits for us, as much as we would like it to be. But whenever the episode, or at least the half, is focused on Ataru and Lum, it's always a good time, knowing that we'll get actual progression, no matter how slow or little it is. And for this episode, we unironically discover why Ataru subconsciously seems to insist on checking out other girls despite Lum existing already, simply because he's apparently the type of guy who has an extremely difficult time getting his actual emotions across. And if it weren't for the wiretap doll that Lum made, Lum nor most of the audience like me would never know that he's actually that type of guy. I mean, sure, Ataru never said what he said in his crying moments directly to Lum, but at least the insurance is there for Lum now, knowing that Ataru does need her in ways that Ataru can't admit, simply because he's quite the tsundere that we didn't expect. And with that said, that's basically it for me for this episode. I thank you all for watching and see you guys in the next episode.